Craig Dubitsky to the stage. He's going to talk. There's actually no presentation here, which I think is going to be awesome because we're talking about brand experience and you cannot script the brand experience. It has to happen sometimes organically. So, Craig, take it away. We're going to be here. I'm going to be here when you're done. We're going to ask a ton of questions. We're going to have a blast.
All right, this is incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you to Branders for having me. Stephen, a fellow pizza athlete and New Jersey black t-shirt wearing brand lover, I thank you for that intro. Yeah, we're pumping it up.
I'm
Uh,
sorry. Did you just call me a pizza athlete? Like that is the
I'm a pizza
best.
athlete, and I think you're a pizza athlete. I keep telling people, I'm like, yeah, I'm an athlete. I'm a pizza athlete. Yeah,
Oh, I have other people that's going to join our club soon, Craig.
I love
Other
that.
New
I think,
Jerseyans.
yeah, this is it. It's like the Joey Chestnut of pizza. Yeah, we're there. Thumbs up. Okay. For those of you who don't know, Google Joey Chestnut and we can talk later. Okay. Super psyched to be here. Um, and just to reiterate, the devastation that's occurring right now for those of us who have folks in Florida, as the saying goes, Godspeed. I just hope everyone's hanging in there and doing okay. Everyone seems to know someone with some ties to that part of the U.S. So I hope everyone is taking a beat in a moment and being just really grateful that they're safe and people are thinking of other people. So um, let's talk about people for a second and mental health. So I get asked a lot about, well, who's your target when you start a brand? Um, Tell me about your customer. Tell me about your consumer. I'm basically allergic to those words. Like they give me hives. Like I'm like, ew, like target, who's your target? Targets get shot at. Not so good. So not a big fan of targets. People talk about the consumer, the consumer, the consumer. We're people. We happen to consume things. And I find that as soon as you label people, oh, that's our target, they're our consumer, you actually do the exact opposite of what I think folks who care a lot about brand really want to do, which is we want to get closer to these folks. And when you label, you create distance. Like there they are, that's our target way over there. Like, no, it's just the opposite. You want to be really close and hopefully close to their hearts. So let's see what we can as a collective group of people that are stewards of brands. Let's see what we can do to try to change the vocabulary out there as we talk about people, not consumers, not shoppers, not targets. Anyway, let's also talk about, excuse me, uh, mental health. And I don't mean to sound preachy, but mental health is health. And as Stephen said, we did something I think very important. It certainly was important to us with Happy. We'll talk about Happy. We partnered with NAMI, and for those of you, all right, my camera's not really going to permit this to show so clearly. Hopefully, you guys can see it. Um, we partnered with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and it's not just a typical partnership where it's a partnership of convenience or a partnership of the moment. It seems these days that I don't know if you've heard the expression flavor of the month, and it sounds pretty pejorative. I don't mean it to sound disrespectful at all, but every month seems to have a cause associated with it, right? It's Earth Month, it's Pride Month. Every month should be Pride Month. Every month should be Earth Month. Every month should, it's not about a month. It's not about finding a date on the calendar that you could get behind with a cause. All these causes are important. Again, it's not to diminish any one cause. The fact that it's Mental Health Awareness Week, I think that that's great. And Mental Health Awareness Day, it's important because mental health is health. But we wanted to do something that wasn't performative or just keeping up with a calendar. Um, and what we did with NAMI was we literally gave NAMI a piece of our company. So NAMI is an equity stakeholder and shareholder in Happy. And what we also did with NAMI, because we spent a lot of time with them, it's an incredible organization. Um, I don't know if this is going to work and set off everyone's computer or phone, so maybe I shouldn't do this, but let's have a little experiment. If I pick up my phone, let's see if this works. Hey Siri, I feel depressed. Now, let's see if this works. Yes. Uh-oh, my phone's not going to pick it up, or my camera. NAMI pops up on my screen. NAMI is powering the mental health portion of the health app on iPhones, which is great. And NAMI also developed 988, which is the US nationwide 911 emergency hotline for mental health emergencies, which is incredible. And as we spent more and more time with the folks at NAMI who do all this incredible work, and there's no cost involved, um, we said, well, what the work they do is incredible. It was started originally decades ago by four parents around a kitchen table in Wisconsin because they had children and family members outside of their children that had mental health issues. And they started this organization. It's grown and grown and grown. And we said, well, is there anything we could help you with? All the work you do, the amazing people that are part of NAMI. And they said, well, the only thing that we hear more often than anything else at NAMI is if only we had known about you sooner from people that engage with NAMI. And as folks who love brand, that was a moment that rang bells for us. And we said, well, that's an awareness issue. We could help with that. And we said to the folks at NAMI, what if we put your information on every pack? What if we put a QR code, toll-free numbers, and nothing again like preachy or heavy-handed, just like a little something on every pack. So we do. And we're really excited about the partnership. And just a quick thing on mental health, some of the things we learned in the US, it used to be the number one killer of teens was auto accidents, inexperienced drivers getting into accidents. I think leukemia was number two. Well, fast forward to today, and handguns is number one, and suicide is number two. And often one and two go together. And for adults in this country, 1 in 5 have some form of mental illness, and it goes untreated. And there are fixes. There are things you can do now, and NAMI is there to help. So I can't say enough good things about NAMI and the importance of mental health. And what we felt we could do was to raise awareness for how important mental health is, and to again partner with a group that can provide hope as well as help. So that's why we're doing what we're doing, because we love coffee. But what we realize is, and it's great to have a trademark, happy. It's an R with a circle. It's a registered trademark. It's the strongest form of trademark you could get, but not everybody's happy. So we wanted to take that tension, the reality of what is and what isn't making people happy these days, and the idea that we're creating a brand, a product, a suite of products, and a corporate culture. And how do we put all that together in a way that's really meaningful? So that's what we did, and that's what we're doing. And I think for anybody who's in our shared world of loving people and brands, coming up with a new way to, I think, manifest what you want to stand for. That's the magic part. And I think if you do it right, it permeates every single aspect of your brand, your product, and your company. So let's talk about that for a second, the company. I think, because I have a feeling there are probably a bunch of entrepreneurs on this chat today. And actually, I think even if you didn't start your own thing, I think if you have an idea and you work to make it real, you're an entrepreneur. That can happen inside of a big company, a small company, a startup. It doesn't matter. If you have an idea and you can make it real, you're an entrepreneur. So for all the entrepreneurs out there, all the creators, something I'll share is that, at least for me, I try to be very focused on creating things and experiences that people can fall in love with. Not that they transact with, but that they fall in love with. And I think that, again, our job, stewards of brand, is to create things that people join, not that they just buy. And they join them because it means something important to them, because, again, it has this proximity to their heart. So I can't stress that enough. And when you're starting something up, you have this unique opportunity that you don't always get in life. In life, you can choose your friends, but not your family. And when you're starting up a company, a brand, it's like being able to choose your family, because I think the best brands have people that like live the brand. They don't just think about it and work on it. That's a little transactional. I think the best brands have folks that are living ideals and breathing and talking and loving what they do and imbuing whatever their brand is with all those positive emotions, and it comes out in the end. And I think people have a bullshit meter and they can tell. And they're like, that brand was made with love. That other brand, maybe not so much. So we're in the love business as much as we are the brand business. And I like to say with happy, as much as we're in the coffee business, I like to say we're in the happy business. It's a bigger idea and a bigger set of ideals. And at the end of the day, I think that's what people really feel excitement about. So that's what we're doing. Let's see. What else can I tell you? Oh, I was talking about a little bit about culture and creating something that people join and being able to choose your family when you start something. And walking the walk and talking the talk. So mental health is important to us, obviously. And I'll talk about coffee and our packaging and design in a second. But it's really all about the team. I'm here lucky enough to be able to chat with you, but there's a whole team of us back in our happy headquarters. And all the magic that happens, no joke, is really because of them. And we set up our ways of working a little bit differently because mental health really is important. So one of the things we realized was we're working hard, we're scrambling. There's only a few of us, right? So we have a lot to do and a lot of ground to cover. But you need you need some time to do the work. You need some time to not do the work. And we came up with this idea. We call it Meatless Monday, MEETLESS, Meatless Monday. And it's not that we don't do work on Monday. We just sort of said, well, Sunday night for a lot of people can kind of suck because they're like, oh my God, the weekend went too fast. And oh man, I got to go back to work on Monday. So we had this idea for Meatless Monday, which again doesn't mean you don't get things done. It means you get things done. Maybe you got to get things done around the house. Maybe there's an appointment your car needs service. There are other things in life that you need to do. Maybe you want to do something just special for yourself. Maybe you just don't want to have any meetings so you can get work that you're passionate about done without the interruptions in your day. Things like that are really, really important to us. Again, like creating an atmosphere where there's respect for people, there's respect for their time, and opportunity for them to spend their time in ways that are important to them. And at the end of the day, make them happy. That's kind of the big idea. Happy is the big idea. So should we talk about this thing for a little bit? Steven, what do you think?
I think 1,000% we should talk about this. What I want to know,
Yeah,
and
talk.
maybe I can set the stage for you a little bit, going a
Set it
little bit.
up, baby. Let's go.
I'm going off script here, and when we had the interview on the Talk with Branders podcast, I think you said we thought about the product in July, we launched it in January. It was something like that. And for the brand builders who might be listening to this, maybe scratching their head saying, "WTF? How did you accomplish that?"
Um,
That's
so
going to become the question.
yeah, no, let's do it. And thank you. I love that this is more interactive, by the way. And
Yeah,
for
I
those
was
of you
going to
who are like,
jump in
well,
anyway.
yeah, it's like where's Dude's PowerPoint slides? It's like, no. Like we're living this stuff. So
Yeah,
we don't need a script. When you're living it, you're living it. So
yeah.
yeah, I like to say we move at the speed of thought. And we're lucky enough to be able to focus a lot and have a lot of thoughts. And then it becomes important that we distill things down and get the good thoughts where they need to be and get rid of the bad thoughts. But we say there are no bad ideas. There's just bad executions. The bad
Hmm.
idea is the one you don't share. So we're like, bring it. Everybody's in on everything at Happy. So yeah, we move really fast. We went from concept, like I'll hold this thing up. This is our ready to drink products. We have a whole line of these. This one's a cold brew, Arabica coffee, straight up, no
No,
artificial anything,
no filler.
sugar, no sweeteners. It's great. And we have lattes as well. And we went from one meeting with a retailer that was like, could you do a line of ready to drink products? That meeting to a little bit less than 4 months later, product was on the shelf. So formulated, and I jokingly say this is maybe too inappropriate, but we're
No,
branding
it's not.
friends, so we can talk about these things. Someone said, "What's your next product going to be?" And I said, "Well, I think we're going to make happy catheters." And someone went like, "What?" And I said, "We have consumed, we have imbibed every single friggin' beverage we could get our hands on, and then had another one and another one. Like we did try
Yeah.
everything because A, we're curious. B, we we have to make sure anything we do is better. It has to be better than what's out there. So we get as smart as we can, as quickly as we can on what the benchmark is for good as far as the current offerings
Yeah.
go. And then we're like, well, that's just not good enough. Like, what do we do to make it better? It's got to be better. If it's not better, you're just clever. And maybe your design is a little snappier, or maybe
Right.
your copy's got a little bit, of a different take, but that's not really enough. At the end of the day, that might get you to buy something once, but to get you to join it, to get you to love it, to get you to buy something again and again and again because it means something to you, your shit's got to be better. Like,
Well,
man,
what about a brand like Liquid Death? Water's not any better than any other water,
I
but
I will never, if I can help it, say anything negative about another brand, and I'm not suggesting you are.
I'm not either. I'm
You're
just
not. You're
spade a
not.
spade.
But what
And
I appreciate as a student, a constant student of brand,
right.
is the fact that they took a commodity and water and they turned it into something else. And for a lot of
Yeah.
folks, it's got badge value. It's like the tattoo they're too scared to get, like permanently inked.
Right.
But
Sure.
I can carry that thing and look like I'm a biker badass, whatever. And I think that's great. Is that going to go the distance? I don't know. It's fun.
Right.
And and I think that there's a lot to be said for fun. So
Totally.
more power to them. But for everybody that wants, brands with uh, devil heads and skulls and automatic weapons and stuff, again, like no disrespect, that's great. There's something for everyone out there. So for people that want a brand that's part of their narrative or that they want to adopt because it makes them feel good, mwah, that's a win. It's great. We think that there's a whole bunch of people that want something that's a little bit, I think, um, contemporary, and a word I'll also try to be mindful of, uh, modern, like a modern
Mm.
approach. Like some brands we feel can be overly masculine, overly aggressive, and some brands can be overly anything actually. Like if you're too much of anything, it's too much, right? You can only have like extreme anything for so long.
Right.
Extreme
Right.
heat, extreme cold, extreme, extreme anything. God, if someone hugs you too long, you're like, I gotta move,
Right. Right.
So anything that's extreme can be a little much. And it's good for a little bit, but may not be good forever. So trying to keep things in a place of respectful moderation,
Yeah.
where you're appreciating that people have very complex lives and a lot to do, and products need to serve quite a few needs for them. We try to keep all that in mind. So
Yeah. Being brand mindful in a way.
yeah, and honestly, people mindful because it's all about
Yeah.
people. You know,
Yeah.
happy is a word. It becomes a brand when someone actually falls in love with it and adopts it and
Yeah.
applies meaning to it. That's important to them. So
Yeah.
we don't want to imply that like we've figured it all out and this is it. And if you drink this, you're happy. Like it's more evolved than that. So
Totally.
that's why for this brand, like we don't have like visual cues that are gonna, there's not like smiley faces all over it. Like that would be a little too cutesy. And we're taking, I think, some cues from tension and how you can use tension to create some real magic. Tension, pressure can create diamonds, right? So
Totally.
understanding that people have difficult lives and that for some people coffee is fuel. It's
Well,
energy.
you said it when we were talking on the podcast, and I think the big insight, right? Like, I think a lot of people think insight's a piece of data or this or that, something profound, but like, coffee makes people happy.
That's right. That's right.
That's
So
it. Like, you don't need any more.
I'm so glad you're bringing that up. Yeah, coffee makes people happy. Would it be great if happy made their coffee? And what I think we're both tapping into is this thing that we refer to as emotional innovation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technical innovation. There's a lot of great data science. There's artificial intelligence that's going to do so much. Personally, I don't like anything artificial, intelligence or otherwise. I like I don't want to feel detached, and I want to be right in it. I don't want anything that's honestly artificial. So I like real stuff. But I think this notion of emotional intelligence is important. You know, EQ is really important, and this notion of emotional innovation, like technical innovations are great, and there are many to be had and many to be explored still. But this idea of really understanding that a technical innovation that doesn't make somebody feel something really positive, hopefully, how innovative is it really? You
Yeah.
know, so I think that's a big thing because otherwise, what happens, I think, if you solely focus on the utility aspect of an innovation, you miss out on other other attributes. It's not that a technical innovation isn't great. If God forbid you needed, you know, heart surgery and there was a new invention that could, you know, cure what was wrong with you, you'd be all over that. But
Yeah.
the emotional innovation is, yeah, I got to live longer. I'm going to be healthier. Like that's great.
Right. Right.
There has to be like a payoff that is emotional. Um, and I think that's like part of the magic. And I think people that care about brand and design, um, that's where that's where we can really live and make a big difference.
Right.
So,
We were
and
talking about it earlier, right? Where magic and logic meet, right? Like there's like an
that's
interesting
it.
space right there.
That's right. I think it's this. I keep saying that if you get the magic right, the math takes care of itself. Because a lot of people, I think, try to reverse engineer and say, well, here's this. I'm going to make fun of the words that we were using earlier as examples of what not to use. Here's this audience. Here's this, you know, here's this target. And if we do these things, we're gonna win. You know, like because if we appeal to those people a certain way, um, we're gonna win. And there's a company, I won't name the company because I always want to be respectful, but they showed me this innovation. And they said, this innovation is amazing and it's going to be incredible because we're going to make 80 points of margin on it. And I kept looking at it and I said, no, you're not. And they were like, no, 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 we've done all the work. We've engineered everything, we've sourced everything, everything. Like there's 80 points of margin. Like this thing's going to be amazing. We've never had a product with this kind of margin. And I kept saying, no. And they're like, what do you mean? We've done all the work. We know what every single thing costs. And I said, you're not going to make that margin. They're like, why do you keep saying that? I said, because no one's going to buy that product. They're like, what? I'm like, it's a soulless, horrible product that doesn't really offer any kind of emotional connection to it. And it's not really solving for any real problem. And there's nothing magical when I look at it, smell it, use it, taste it, try it, like nothing. So you're telling me there's all this margin, but I'm telling you no one's going to buy it. And unfortunately, for this particular instance, the product was an epic fail. And I do think if you focus on those softer things, how is that thing going to make somebody feel?
Yeah.
Not like how do we get our hierarchy of benefit through in a
Hmm.
right? Like that's the math. You got to make it magical. Like, how do you tell
Yeah.
somebody your thing is amazing without saying it's amazing? How do you tell
Right.
somebody it's new without putting a violator on it that says that it's new? Like, if you have to tell somebody your thing is new, it's
You're
not
not
so
doing
new. Real,
right.
real new is someone looks at it and goes, "Whoa, what's that?
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. That's new." When I have to tell you it's new, it's not so good. You
Got a
know?
couple questions, Craig, from the
Yeah,
audience. So
let's do
I'm
it.
gonna jump in. Sarah, Sarah's got not a question and a question, right? So she just wants to say that she loves the catheter idea, and she's been wanting a coffee catheter since she started drinking coffee years ago. I might be second in line for that. Like, let's just pump it through.
Let's
But
do
then
it.
she smartly asks a great question. In a global market, how do you factor culture into emotional innovation? For example, some cultures are uncomfortable showing or expressing emotion.
Well, it's a great it's a great question slash provocative thought to unpack.
Yeah.
I think there's some things you can plan for and some things you can't really. And I do think if you just stay pure to the stuff that you as someone who's involved with a brand or a product or a company are focused on, just stay true to that. And I find that um, people adopt what you're putting out there if they feel the vibes. And by the way, some people behave in private very differently than they do in public. So the
Mm,
culture might be, well, these are the norms and standards of the culture. But when people are in private, the last I checked, people love other people all over the world. People might have all sorts of different habits or cultural norms, but love seems to still be a universal, and how it gets expressed in public might be very different than in private. But high cheekbones work in every culture, like design. We
my
don't have to
wife, she
talk
would
about.
love that
Yeah,
comment.
yeah. I mean, it's just, you don't have to understand or appreciate the Vitruvian Man and the power and magic of symmetry to see a radius on something that's soft and smooth,
Yeah. Got the
eggs,
feeling you're getting.
ovum, like these things are universal. And I think while cultures vary and behaviors vary, there are some things that just are totally, totally universal. And
Yeah.
I think that's where we want to try to play and not try to force ourselves to fit into someone's um, you know, cultural structures. Um, Keeping it simple, I think, and I don't know, it's just tapping into the fact that we have more in common with one another than not.
Mm,
Is the key. So figure out where those common bits are and keep
that's smart.
those. And then I think you don't have to worry about, is that going to play in this country? Is that going to play in this culture? Like
Yeah.
again, some things are just universal. So tap.
Great. Got the great answer. Wendy asks, you've had a couple successes. Hello, happy. I'm sure there's a lot of other things
We're
you've
only
been a
on the
part of.
itchy. Yeah, we got like a whole bunch of other letters we have to go.
What has been one of the biggest but constant challenges that you've faced? Like, what the pattern of challenge that you might have seen?
Um, a few things. Excuse me. One is everything takes longer and costs more than you think.
Yeah, it does.
If there's any reality, it's like there's death and taxes and gravity. These are these, like immutable forces. So time and money definitely are up there. The other thing is like I love custom packaging. Like I love things that haven't existed before in a category. It's not that like no one had ever made a cuboid vessel, but there's nothing like this in coffee with this
No.
material and a custom substrate on the label that lets it be curbside recycled, like all sorts of stuff that we played with. Um, and every time I learned something different with custom packaging that hasn't existed for a reason. There are tweaks you have to make. There's always some new thing when you're creating something new. Like there's always a surprise. So that's been a constant. All the um, initial packaging for brands like Method, we had issues. At Hello, we had custom packaging that also had challenges. But it was the things that were so different at first that some people were like, "What's that?" Like EOS. Like people looked at that lip sphere lip balm and they were like,
Yeah.
"What the hell is that?" Like people had no idea. So sometimes or maybe in my case, every time when you have something new and the form factor is different and the visual identifiers are not in line with the norm of the category, it takes a little time to get people comfortable with that. So that's another constant that I've learned. Like if you're gonna push it design wise, you have to be prepared for people to sort of be like, well, what's that? Even with Liquid Death, I mean, you mentioned that. I don't know if like the second it launched, it
Yeah.
captivated people the way it's done now. I don't know. I'm just I think it did, um, but you have to be prepared for for like a little bit of shock and awe, and then how you turn that shock and awe into love.
Mm.
And it takes a little time. So that's another thing I've
What is your
learned.
fascination with packaging?
I think it's art. So I
Mm.
never think of it as packaging. Like I think everything communicates and everything is art, and not all communication is verbal. Um, and is is audible. Like I think there's a lot that goes on. I'm a big believer in sensory effort, sensory branding. How do things feel when you touch them?
Yeah.
What is the form like when you touch it? This product, this is a, oops, let's see if my camera can get it. It's sleeved. We didn't print on the can on this because we went so fast we couldn't print on cans. So we sleeved it, but we went with this soft touch label. So you feel this thing and it has like a little grip to it. There's like a
Yeah.
little haptic response, but it just feels good. Like all these little phonic, sonic, haptic elements all communicate. And they also communicate that there was a sense of uh, measured thought and concern that was put into the choices around these elements, right? The radius on this thing, the soft touch on this thing, like even the UPCs are considered. Like this UPC code looks like a coffee cup, like they're
Well,
touches.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, they're touches. And on the cans, they look like a can. It's shaped, it's probably hard to tell on camera, but everything is touch. So I think, it's not just about packaging, it's about the whole thing. The word choice, like copy, you like we have
Right.
minimal copy, but we stayed away from the tropes of the category for coffee, which are typically about like just the origin or these, it has tasting notes of this and this and this.
Yeah.
Ours, like this particular one, has with notes of cashew and elation. Like if you see it, you see it. If you get that elation as a tasting note
It
is
makes you double take.
personal, but it's just one word. But that one word
Yeah.
works really hard, and it was considered. Like everything we
Yeah.
put
It's
on these
deliberate.
packs,
There's nothing fluffy.
right? And they're touches. They're little things. So if you see it, it's great. If you don't see it, you may not see it, and that's okay. There are different reads as you look at something. So the first thing might be the color, the next thing might be the form, the next thing might be the copy, and
Yeah.
all of these things in some form of succession ladder up to this emotional innovation. Like that's really interesting. I hadn't thought
Funny
about.
you say that. Yesterday's talk with Terry Goldstein, she hit upon it, right? She hit upon if you're looking at a package, just the steps that you take to process that color, words, font, the design of it. So I love how you brought that up. From this is from LinkedIn, so we have questions coming in from LinkedIn. So Jody asks, what advice would you give to early stage founders trying to cultivate a unique brand experience in perhaps a crowded market?
Well, first of all, every market that's crowded, I think, is a great opportunity because it lets you know that there's a volume of interest, right? So a lot of people
Hmm.
have said to me over the years, "You wait, you're going to make a toothpaste brand? You can't do that. It's a humongous category with a handful of established brands in it." I'm
You're not Procter.
like that means that category matters to people. Like that's an opportunity. So I would say first, don't let the fact that it's a large category in any way, shape, or form frighten you. It's a great opportunity if it's that big. There's always room for something new, like always. And in terms of like what you need to really think about is, well, I mentioned already, like everything takes longer than you think. So as you're planning, just know it's going to take you more time than you think.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd suggest is um, if you can, if there's a way to do it, because I don't know if this if her opportunity that she's thinking about is like what's the go-to-market strategy? If it's a D2C thing, if it's a retail based thing, if it's a proprietary retail thing, like I love that as humans, because we love narrative so much. We come up with words or terms that we use to help us remember and classify and explain things. So now everything is like omni-channel. I mean, I I I find that fascinating. and sorry, I'm going a little off the question, but
No, but let's
I think
go.
it's really, really incredible that people talk about go-to-market strategy and where your product's going to live and how it's going to show up and all that stuff. And I know how important that stuff is, but I still think the most important thing, and this is an old adage, the best marketing is a great product. And because if it's really great, people will find it and they'll tell other people about it.
Hmm.
So I think that in a world of omni-channel, I don't think people care where they get the thing anymore. I still think they care about the thing. So it's like if I say, "Oh, d did you like that Universal picture that I watched on streaming platform X?" You'd be like, "Well, why would I care about the movie studio and like I just care that oh, the story was amazing, the acting was incredible,
Mm.
you know, it touched me, right? Like so I might bring up the streamer because I want you to see it, and that might be the only place to see it, but it's still about the thing itself. I don't care if I purchase whatever it is, if it comes via an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, a carrier pigeon, a bird scooter user, a city bike, you know, rental person,
Yeah.
DHL, UPS, USPS, or FedEx. What do I care about that? I only care about the thing. So I'm like again, I don't care if I watched it on Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Prime Video, like Max, you know, broadcast TV. I don't care about the delivery system so much. I care about what the thing is. I care about what
Mm.
that show was, that event, that product. So, so anyway, I'm going off script and off this
No,
topic.
but it's unique, and it gets me thinking, and I'm sure other people might be thinking the same thing. You're so product obsessed, but you're also people
Yeah,
obsessed.
yeah, because people write their narratives through their stuff, right? So if we, as stewards of stuff, don't become really obsessed with people and how they feel and how they work and how they function and what they care about, and give them the tools and vehicles to express themselves, then shame on us. That's the opportunity because
Yeah.
everything communicates and everything has, I think, this ability, this opportunity to be made better and more beautiful. However, you define those things, better could be more natural, better could be easier to recycle, beautiful to you could be those things as well. So, better and beautiful is that's the thing. And again,
Yeah.
better that appeals to people's emotions, that's the magic, and then the math is going to take care of itself. Like there's
Yeah.
great margin in meaning, basically.
Margie, no, that's great. We got about 10 minutes left, so keep bringing those questions in. We're going to continue to ask more. This one is from Caroline. You created some great brands. Some of them start with the letter H. What's next?
Well, I think I comes after H in our alphabet, but eh, all joking aside, I learned something really, really interesting uh, with my previous brand that I had been lucky enough to get started, which was Hello. And by the way, you mentioned like I did this, I did that. It's a team. Like
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough. Like, sure, I'm the founder, I was the founder, I am the founder. But I told our team at Hello way back when at a holiday party, I said, "You're all founders." And they were like, I think like, what do you mean? I'm like, look, everyone is added to this thing. Everybody's made, you know, like we're writing this book and everyone's like made edits and everyone's added a chapter and everyone's, you know, taken something with them and has an excerpt. Like we're all part of this thing. So it does really truly take a family, a whole team of people to do this. But let me back up to where I was starting out. The thing I learned that was really important for me with Hello in particular was because I see opportunity everywhere, and it's not because I'm so distractible. It's because I love people and I see, you know, some cases disappointment, some cases opportunity, sometimes they're one and the same. Um, I learned with Hello this power of intense focus, which was never really my strong suit. Like pizza eating, absolutely. Focus, I'd be like, shiny object, or like we could do
Right.
this or we could do that, or what if we
Right.
did this, or a lot of what if, and a lot of distractibility on my part. And it took me a while to get there because my natural inclination is to see art and magic in everything, and that makes me smile, and who doesn't like to smile more, right? But I really learned the power of uh, getting the signal to noise ratio under control and really honing in on the stuff that was really important. People, 1,000%. People on your team, your family. People sometimes think that's trite. Oh, your family. It's like you're working together. It's more intense than that in a startup. But when you're creating
Yeah.
something from nothing, like ab initio, it did not exist, and we're going to will something into the universe. We're going to see the invisible and make it real. It takes such intense focus. So that was my biggest learning. And with this opportunity, because coffee is so beloved by so many, and the opportunity to distill down what's important about the human condition around mental health and make that important and vital and viable as a talking point for people, being core to what we're trying to do here. And by the way, do all this with exceptional product. I haven't even talked about the coffee, how we source it, the IBM built blockchain that lets us trace who planted the beans, when and where, and how they were harvested. There's a lot that has gone into this product, and the quality of the sourcing and the beans and the way that they're not only selected and blended but roasted, so there's no char and there's no bitter aftertaste or bitterness as you're drinking it. All of that was done with incredible precision. So that stuff is there, but the softer stuff is everything, and it requires intense focus. And if you take your eye off the ball and you say, well, we're only going to focus on the brand and the brand story, but the product sucks, no way. So you need to make sure that the product is amazing. The actual, I call it goop. In this case, this is a dry ground coffee. It's not really goop like liquidy, but I call everything goop if it goes into something else. So the goop, the goods, the juice has to be fucking awesome. If it's not, don't kid yourself. The rest of
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't.
You
That's
can only
like
put so much lipstick on the pig.
exactly like you can't do it. So
How did you find, listen, as an entrepreneur, as a new dad, all these things, focus is, is my thorn in my side sometimes, right? Very much like you. How did you find that focus? Was there like
um couple of
was it a
ways.
light bulb, or was it
Yeah,
like you
no,
did
no,
a
there were quite a few ways. One is just this amazing thing that happened. I got a little older, so that was really helpful because I could look back and be like, well, what worked, what didn't work, what could have worked better. And I shouldn't have to preface this by saying, and in all honesty, because I hope I'm honest about everything. Um, my wife, if you're lucky enough to have a partner, a life partner, a real, deep relationship where you can be incredibly honest, that's been really helpful. I mean, I'm married for a long time. We have two kids. I totally married up. My wife clearly has ocular problems because she thought this was okay. But
but you're an athlete.
that aside, yeah, exactly. She's not my coach as a pizza athlete. She's pretty much like you need to find another sport. But uh, she also happens to be a PhD in clinical psychology. So I'm very fortunate to have that in house. It's fabulous. And she's been a great supporter, and she's been on this journey with me for, a very, very, very long time. So, being able to be honest and honest with yourself and have somebody who's supportive and loving, also be able to like tell you like, with love, you know, you're kind of like getting a little scattered. So that was really important. And then figuring out how to sort of structure your day a little bit. And I'm
Yeah.
not the best at that still, but I do have some routines now that I never really had routines before. So that's been really helpful. And the first and best routine, it's really simple, and it's not esoteric, and there's an app for it now and everything. Just make checklists, man. I just make checklists because there's some things you just forget because you're busy doing
Yeah.
something else. I just make a checklist. And if I didn't get to that thing, I know it's still on my checklist. And then I got to hit the little dot and erase
Get
it.
that dopamine. Get that dopamine when you click that dot.
I do not have inbox zero.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
to
a
say I
myth.
don't have that is an understatement. Let me, like, if I open up my phone, I'm
Oh
trying,
no.
definitely not meaning to be rude, but I'm really scared to show you what my inbox looks like. Hold on. My phone. Oh, it's wild. I think because I turned everything off because we're doing this, it's not
Yeah,
showing. But oh my, I mean, my inbox has like a number with like commas.
commas. Oh,
And there's like, yeah, many, like more than one comma. Anyway,
uh,
so yeah, inbox zero, not there, but everything else, I'm like,
the
try to create
checklist.
a little structure and that's going to
Yeah,
help you a lot.
yeah. That's great advice. Last question. In your experience, how important is it for founders to remain hands-on in the brand building process? And at what point should they delegate or bring in an external team, like an agency?
Um, that's a great question. So I love agencies because I love the fact that someone could create a business and support people, themselves and other people, by purely focusing on the power of ideas and being able to monetize that. I just think
Yeah.
that's the most incredible thing. So I love that and I respect people that are professional creatives. So I'll leave that out there. That said, I think it's very difficult to outsource soul. And I think founders, what makes founders, I think, a little different and interesting is that they do bring the light and they do bring the lifeblood to the process of creating something from nothing. And I do think if you get to a place where you're like, oh, I just handed it off. I have this idea. I want to make this widget, and here's this creative group, and they're just going to go do it. Um, it can sometimes feel manufactured. It can feel like artificial intelligence versus intelligence. It's the difference between talking like this or having Chat GPT give me a script that I read to you. And it might have all the factual bits right, but it's still not necessarily the same thing. So I think the idea that founders can just let that stuff go at some point. There's some stuff like no one could do everything.
Yeah.
I think for me, a big part of what I've also learned over the years is to you come up with an idea, and look, I write pretty much like I don't want to say all, but pretty much all in some cases the copy on these things,
Mm,
and because it's your voice, right?
yeah.
And people, again, I say this a lot. They have a bullshit meter, and they can tell. Like, is there a real person behind that?
Or that chat GPT.
And who is that? Or do they go through the checklist of like, these are the top 10 points that this product needs to hit on because we've done market research and these are the things we found. I think things that come from a place of honesty, um, they ring true. And you can't just say, well, this is what the data said. Like you need to have that, again, that emotion behind it. And I think agencies are great, but founders have to work with the partners very directly, I find, because it's like a bad game of telephone. Like you have this idea and you're the founder and you've got a vision and you think you know exactly what you want to do. It can always be made better. But I think the key is make sure you're working with people that appreciate what that vision is and that and you as a founder have to be open-minded to take some of that feedback, but don't outsource it all. Like
Yeah.
you started this thing for a reason. It came from a place in your heart and your head, and that's a special thing because people are special. And that sounds like such a throwaway thing. Oh, people are special. Like, what a bullshit statement. It really isn't. And it's funny as I hear myself say that out loud because it became that sentiment that people are special and people are magic was a huge part of the creation of this and the tone of voice of this brand. And I say that because a lot of coffee talks about geography
Yeah.
and and look, all that stuff is important. Like, oh, our coffee is mountain grown coffee. All coffee grows on a mountain. There's no hydroponic coffee. There's no, intergalactic coffee. There's no valley grown coffee. So it wasn't about geography. What we realized was coffee is a commodity. It truly is. And our coffee is exceptional. And we source it from 35 different countries. And we have the largest vertically integrated coffee roast in the world. The coffee's epic. But, but what we care the most about, as much as we care about the coffee, we care the most about people. People are not commodities. People are unique. And all these brands talk about how unique their product is, and we're flipping it. We're like, no, people are unique. The coffee is amazing, yes, but people are unique. So what if we flip the script and we focus on people? And that to me is the magic of all this stuff. If it's just about form, fit, function, color, benefits, hierarchy of benefits, you know, that's flat. That's like me sitting here clicking the button and showing you a PowerPoint slide with a lot of bullets on each page. And by the way, why the fuck are they called bullets? I don't want it bullets. No bullets.
I
No one
got
wants
one
it.
provocative question left, and we're gonna, and this is, I hope.
Do it.
uh, Ashley says, easy for you to say, Craig. You have had a lot of successes, therefore you're breeding success. What about for the first time founders who are putting their lifeblood into a product? How do
Do
I
you
balance
listen?
people?
We need a separate webinar, and we should just title it um, shit where we've fucked up. And it won't be an hour. That one's going to go, that one's not going to be 4 days or 5 days. That one's going to be like, we're basically going to be like a live stream the entire time.
I
So
mean, with like a 3-day Coachella
you want
Twitch.
to know how many things I've tried that didn't work? Oh my word. So if there's one thing I can leave you with, and I appreciate that
Yeah.
it's easy for you to say. It's not easy for me to say, I promise you. The number of things that I've tried where I've had my butt totally kicked is significant.
Yeah.
And where I've been way wrong and where I've been, the nice way to put it is, oh, I was just early. I had that idea 20 years ago. Well, guess what? That's called wrong. It might feel right now because I had that idea 20 years ago. I had that idea to do that thing. I thought it'd be really great. Everyone has a phone. People have cars. What if you could just enter in where you want to go and someone in a car came and picked you up? I had that idea like
Sounds like Kramer. He had all the ideas.
exactly like yeah, I had that idea 20 years ago, but guess what? I didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything with it. So I think the failure part is part of the process, and you got to be okay with that. And I think the key is I call it, I made up this term once. I called it FUF, which means fuck up fast. Like, you know, you got to keep trying and you got to have intense grit because things are going to happen you cannot even imagine. Like, and I don't want to go into all the crazy things that have happened that were mind blowing in a bad way, but they're out there. So and I love that question because you're right. A lot of things feel like very sugar coated and like, oh, this is great. And you're this brand person and you had this thing happen and that thing happened. And people say, you had an exit, you had an exit.
Right.
Like, I hate that. Not because I hate it because it involves like money stuff. Like, money's a real thing and we need it and whatever. I hate it because I'm a founder, I'm a funder, I've been an investor in things. And whenever I meet people and they're like, oh, well, here's my exit strategy. And I'm like, that's not how it works. And because the key is to focus on making your thing amazing. And you never sell anything. Something gets acquired. It's a subtle but very important difference. And the stuff that gets me really excited is that you want to create things that are as endearing as they are enduring, right? So a lot of things, maybe transact, but then they disappear. Like, what happened to that brand? It got acquired. There was an exit. Then you don't hear about it. Or it wasn't a good purchase and they wrote it off or wrote it down. Like, what gets me going is like Method. By the way, November 15th is coming up in a little bit, a month and a bit. I know that date really well because it was my son's birthday. And the day he was born, I went downstairs, New York Cornell Hospital, and said, okay, to wire the first money into Method. So
Wow.
it's coming up on 23 years since that day. And Method is still around. And if Method disappeared tomorrow, people would be sad. And if Hello disappeared tomorrow, people would be sad. And if EOS disappeared tomorrow, people would be sad.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's to make something that didn't exist before that if it disappeared tomorrow, people would be like, I missed that. That was part of my personal way of expressing myself, my aesthetic, my ethic. That stuff meant something to me. So you got to stay focused on creating things that have meaning. And and love behind them because other people will pick up on that, and then it becomes part of their life, not just a thing.
And
So
that's what we're trying to do here with branding.
that's it, baby. That's the whole
That's it.
thing.
Craig,
Love business.
you're a legend, and I really, really appreciate
You're very
um,
kind.
you taking your time out of your busy day to chat with us, to chat with everyone who's made it. Amazing questions. Tomorrow, 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, we have a panel. Turner Duckworth, SEGD, Allegro 234. I'm moderating it, so you can expect provocative questions. Find Craig on LinkedIn. He'll probably
Yeah, find
accept
me.
you
Yeah,
and like engage. Find me on
100%.
LinkedIn because I'll do the same. And thank you to all of our partners, sponsors, speakers, guests, and most importantly, to the people who joined us today. Right, Craig?
All right. Thank you all. Thank you all.
And go buy some
All
coffee.
right. Text, be in touch, and take care of each other and keep putting the love out there.
Love you, man. Ciao, guys.
Thank you.